So this is the first 4 episodes of the Worf and Riker show as read by me, the author, the god of this universe that you are entering. The word ensign there is because I'd spelt it wrong and I typed it into corrected, and apparently I must have put it at the beginning or something. For some reason it's there, but ignore that. The Worf and Riker show, episode 1. At least we know this is the corrected version. Published after the ones which came later. Those were all corrected at the same time. There were several where I'd spell ensign the way anyone would spell it from sound in their mind. But right, Kapla Worf, Kapla Riker. Ladies and gentlemen, on today's show we have the universe's most nonsensical thought process, 2 of the largest crisps in the universe, not even surpassed in the Epsilon Quadrant, where our show is filmed. David Hasselhoff, ancient human TV star, doing impressions of famous political demagogues from across the ages. So without further ado, our first segment. Ray Coates, MTV Most Wanted Studio. Troy is interviewing Ray Coates. Troy. So Ray, Starfleet Records inform me that your ancestor invented the very first egg and spoon race. That's right, Councillor Troy. Martin Coates invented the egg and spoon race in 1287 in a prisoner of Crusades camp in what would today be called central Beirut, not far from the cinema in present-day Beirut. And our records also show that this extraordinary inventor also articulated the most nonsensical thought process in the entire universe. He did, Troy, he did. Will you, Ray, give us a breakdown of what that nonsensical thought process was, if you could? To be honest, the idea is too nonsensical for even myself to be able to articulate. But fortunately, Wicket W. Warwick has agreed to explain it for you. Camera zooms in on screen, showing Wicket W. Warwick, who is doing a handstand on Dagobah while balancing Yoda in the air on his left foot and lifting a rock into the air with the force. Wicket W. Warwick, will you explain to the audience at home what the most nonsensical thought in the universe is? I see, Sir Luke. Thank you, Wicket. Wakulla folla fina. Back to you in the studio, Commander Riker. Cut to interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. Before our segment on extremely large crisps, we have a special new game show to help bridge the gap between homophobic men and attention-seeking gay men, hosted by Graham Norton and Jean-Paul Gaultier. Sit back, have a glass of prune juice, and enjoy the very first episode of Man or Minger. Cut to interior Man or Minger set. Graham Norton is dressed as Superman. Welcome, viewers, to the first of many fun shows where we combine sensationalism with a complete lack of sincerity on anyone's part about equality or even rational behavior when it comes down to it, with a corporate lust for profit and with the lowest common denominator we can use to trigger viewers or reactionary attitudes towards us, which drive the power of our brand up among those who enjoy being fed the bills we produce. In short, 10 gay men and 10 mingers are stuck in a room drinking booze with our contestant, who is either a man who claims he's gay but his friends and family say otherwise, or a man who claims he is not gay but his friends and family say otherwise. The first man or minger to seduce our contestant wins £100,000. So, on to our first contestant, Bill Maher. Bill Maher, are you going to fuck a man or a minger tonight? Step on down. Bill Maher is ushered forward by Graham Norton's security people, led by Martin Short, who abducted him from some far more sleazy place than the set of Man or Minger, and showed him the Epstein file contents, which had been forwarded to Norton, guaranteeing his cooperation. Cut to interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. And we'll be back to that later in the show to see how old Bill Maher is doing. And now crisps. Crisps were famously invented by the English on planet Earth by shareholders in dental and gum healthcare facilitators in the pre-intergalactic era. For some reason, nobody thought to tell the humans to stop making crisps when they could have any number of particularly fine foods which don't harm their gums or teeth at all, or cause the digestive problems associated with eating an object which is often 30 to 40% oil. And so today in Yorkshire, The two largest crisps in the entire universe have both been made. One of them is salt and vinegar, the other is ale and cheese. I like the sound of those. The third biggest one is beetroot and cumin, but it is smaller than the largest crisp made by Ferengi crisp producers who stole the idea from the humans because of how much the profit margin is on a crisp. It is literally the most profitable consumable item in space today, if you can get hold of it and find the people to buy it, of course. Cut to exterior Yorkshire. Troy is standing interviewing some northern English people sitting around a table preparing to tuck into a piece of the giant crisps. As you can see, the lifespan of a crisp is short, even the largest crisp in the universe. The people start tucking in. Troy interviews them one by one. They are Martin Clunes, Jennifer Saunders, and Prunella Scales. Guys, tell me your first impressions of this record-breaking pair of crisps. The universe wants to know how they are. Good crisps? Not really. I prefer prawn cocktail myself. Crisps? I see. I was wondering why nobody gave me a fork. Clunes eats the crisps. The finest crisps known to man, undoubtedly. Aren't you the one on Star Trek with the Polish accent? Don't be stupid. It's not Polish. It's Colombian. Thanks, guys. Back to you in the studio. As you can see, all is normal here in England, on planet Earth, in the Alpha Quadrant. Cut to interior Worf and Riker show studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. Humans, eh? Humans, eh? You are a human, Commander, or had you forgotten? Yes, good point. Actually, I had forgotten. Sorry, good point. And now, viewers, a trailer for the new Jurassic Park film, Jurassic Ass Motherfuckers, starring Eddie Murphy as a police detective working in a world where dinosaurs and humans live together, and Murphy's boss is a Fartosaurus Rex, while the gangland criminal overlord they're hunting is a Diplodocus. Coming to a streaming pirate channel near you. Cut to exterior, back of truck facing road. Eddie Murphy, a Fruitosaurus, and Blossom from the TV show are now negotiating over some bootleg cigarettes. Hey Fruitosaurus, I don't like the look of your partner. Do you smell pork? No, I don't smell pork. I just think she looks too preppy. Blossom, man, can't you lose the frumpy, overprivileged trophy Jewish girl look? Think Maggie Smith circa 1976. You can't expect a sheltered suburbanite raised on domesticity and hyper-emotional televised fiction to behave like a self-generated Oscar Wilde character. He's right, Blossom. I don't know about that pretentious shit about the self-regeneration thing, but you're definitely the wrong actress. Somebody get me Kathy Burke. Kathy Burke is cast as second criminal, and Blossom goes off to a pie and reproduction conference party coffee morning in a random suburban location somewhere not currently designated as a war zone by the corporations. I don't know what you want or who stretched your mouth into a permanent grin, but I don't trust you. Fruitosaurus, mate, this man's a copper. We should skedaddle. Come on, he can't be. This is a screenplay, you Paleolithic nonce. Eddie Murphy is, as is his custom. I should say, as is often his custom. I mean, sometimes he doesn't do that. Playing some unorthodox law enforcer or establishment figure using an outward show of outrageous defiance and unorthodox behavior to mask his true enforcer for the elite's identity. He's a cop, the fuzz, 5-0, the man. All right, already. You've made your point, Kathy. Shit, some of that stuff really hurts me emotionally. But I'm going to let you off because, don't you comprehend, mate? I'm Kathy Burke. The author of this screenplay has done you up like a kipper. I'm going to spend the whole film smugly deriding your cheerful cow talents to tyrannies composed of state-funded corporate entities. This is my film, not yours. You should have kept the bat mitzvah girl. Cut to interior Worf and Riker show studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. Watch Eddie Murphy's new film, apparently co-starring Kathy Burke, to find out what happens. The film is called Jurassic Ass Motherfuckers. Close your eyes and block your ears now for about 20 seconds if you want to miss the spoiler scene moments before the end of the film. Cut to baddie, goon, mega mansion and armory. Kathy Burke has eaten Eddie Murphy and Blossom and has rung up the film's catering manager to complain about the quality of the food. You call that a pie? You what? Don't you come at me, mate. My ancestors invented your toilet seat of a country. You want to see real food? I'll show you the menu at my local. The lard and opinions. You can get a pie there which has a pie inside it. Yeah, a pie inside a pie. Who do you think invented America, you anorexic robot fart? Cut to interior Worf and Riker show studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. We have news that an even bigger crisp than the crisp seen in Yorkshire earlier on the show has come into existence as a result of an accident in a Ferengi research and development facility. More from Troy. Interior spaceship with Troy in the foreground and a giant crisp on the screen depicting what's in front of them in space. Troy is interviewing the ship's captain, Ferris Bueller. Captain Bueller, tell me more about this giant crisp. Well, apparently someone provided incorrect dimension data to a Ferengi crisp production equipment manufacturer for a bespoke job, and the first crisp it produced was so large that the planet on which it was manufactured was pulled into the crisp's orbit and accidentally collided as a result with the local sun. Fortunately, the entire planet was automated, so only agricultural life was lost in the accident and shareholders' profits. The crisp itself has already become inhabited by very drunk football hooligans looking for something crunchy and salty to eat, and a temple celebrating the churlishness of Jimmy Nail has been built near a slightly overcooked browned area of the crisp itself. What's your mission here, Captain? Is this giant crisp dangerous? Will its structural integrity hold? No, I have to attend a friend's stag night, and I was thinking about hauling the entire crisp there as a kind of cult of personality stunt. What about the people on its surface? Oh, they'll be welcome at the party, don't worry. Bueller commands his crew to put the crisp in a tractor beam, and they do so, and his ship moves off towards the stag party. Back to you in the studio, Commander Riker. Looks like not much going on here for now. Interior Worf and Riker show studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. Riker, we'll go back to that story as it develops. And now, as promised, David Hasselhoff doing impressions of political demagogues from across the ages. David will do the impression, and the audience will try to guess who he's portraying or quoting. They're in random historical order so that it's not too easy for the audience to extrapolate just from the order of the impressions. Let's see if you bastards can do 90. I will now invite audience members to guess who said that line. I see Bob Mortimer has his hand up already. Bob, what's your guess? Is it Smokey and the Bandit? That is not the correct answer. The audience may take further guesses. I see Bono thinks he knows the answer. Bono, what's your guess? I'd like to dedicate this song to NATO themselves. It's called Tomorrow Afternoon, More Resource Reallocation. That is not the correct answer. The audience may take one further guess. Phil Hartman, you know the answer. I do, Worf. It's said by the propagandist Marty McFly about some Libyans he's trying to racially stereotype in order to undermine a Libyan government which has transformed an impoverished, illiterate society into one with 80% literacy rate and a burgeoning middle class, because the Libyan government's ideas about African unity and the economic sovereignty for the continent of Africa misalign with the intentions of Michael J. Fox's paymasters. That is the correct answer. You have beaten David Hasselhoff in the first round, and he therefore won't be back until next week, when he can try to outsmart the audience again with an arcane quote from a carefully concealed demagogue in some part of history barren of integrity and excellence. And we have more from Graham Norton. It seems Bill Maher has been seduced by two mingers who are sharing the money between them and have apparently left him arguing with an AI bot programmed to keep deflecting his a priori that Muslim humans are evolutionarily beneath him, while they spend the cash on indulging themselves remorselessly. And finally, it seems there is an update on the Ferengi crisp situation over to Troy on Captain Bueller's starship, the Starship Preppy. Interior Starship Preppy, it is now possible to see that the ensign is David Hyde Pierce, and the number one officer is Commander Cameo, i.e. the musician who made Word Up. Captain, the crisp is starting to break up. I could have told you this would happen. But oh no, you're the spontaneous, casual, too cool for school king of the wing, Ferris Bueller. Isn't there some way we can suddenly just refit the pieces of crisp together and then a kind of light glows on the lines and they all end up gone and it's a full crisp again? Like in sci-fi TV shows. Exactly. No, that's a fantasy. We can't do anything like that. Commander Cameo. Captain, the individual crisp pieces have their own centers of gravity and are becoming planets in their own right, apparently taking up orbit around a nearby star. Well, studio, it looks like the crisp pioneers can carry on their jingoism and boozing and team sports on new planets made out of crisps in orbit of this nearby star Zog 223. Did you say Zog 223? Yes, Captain. Is there a problem? They look at the screen showing the giant broken crisp pieces. Floating in space in front of them, suddenly a huge creature with a football shirt, boozed up, tattooed with various jingoistic emblems and phrases, and shouting incomprehensibly yet vigorously and relentlessly, eats the crisp and wanders off into space. That's a great boo. Great boos are a species exactly like human football hooligans, but 90,000 times the size of humans. Otherwise, exactly the same in every way. What goes around comes around. Back to you in the studio, Commander Riker. Interior Worf and Riker show studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. And that's all for today's show. We'll be back in the next episode with the universe's most punitive method of behavior modification or control, a bona fide all-you-can-eat restaurant which prisoners are not allowed to leave until they have literally eaten every possible food they could ever eat, a feat few ever manage once inside. And we'll be sending Troy to interview the Borg themselves about their notorious anti-union stances. And there'll be music from Wayun, Dukan Rex, Goran Agar, and Ixtana Rax and their band of Jem'Hadar musicians, formerly the Pet Shop Boys tribute band, but transformed by their success, particularly on Bejor, where their song Wormhole in My Heart was #1 in the charts for 3.5 months, now known as the Intergalactic Jem'Hadar Ska Mission. Good night, everyone, and everyone else too. End episode theme music, right said Fred Bernard Cribbins. I'm just coming back. Leave it here. I'm not gonna. There's no pause function on QuickTime, so just be back. You just look at the blank space, and then we'll move on to episode 2. But I've got to blow my nose out of earshot, just for the sake of well. Okay, on with episode 2. Worf and Riker show. Got the whole ensign thing there. Again. At least you know, the Starship Preppy is back again. Or you could have guessed. Could have been another starship. Okay. Kapla, Worf. Kapla, Riker. Ladies and gentlemen, on today's show we have another pick from the world of complete nonsense ideas, which screenwriters seriously expect audiences to treat as realism at some level. David Hasselhoff will once again try to outfox our studio audience with an impression of another random tool of the cult of personality and its associated fascist causes and regimes. The Intergalactic Jem'Hadar Ska Mission will be performing their new hit song Haberdashery on Leasty. Troy goes into the danger zone and probes the Borg over their immoral internal practices. And actress Whoopi Goldberg has combined her character out of Ghost with her character in The Next Generation and will be conducting a séance in which she will interview the spirit of David Lynch on matters of intergalactic ethics, film making, and food. And so, on to the nonsense round. What nonsense do you have for us today, Troy? Cut to interior Starship Preppy. Ferris Bueller is having a haircut and a shave in his captain's chair. Cameo is practicing dance moves on the elevated section of the bridge, and David Hyde Pierce is capturing his sense of despair in unique blues haiku form, which he is penning with an actual quill on scroll. Guys, I thought we were going to see Wicket W. Warwick again for more nonsense thoughts. Oh yeah, Wicket already communicated that to us on a live stream, which we recorded for you. He was busy with his new Jedi training. Ensign put the Dagobah footage on screen. That's accidentally all caps, shouldn't be. Aye, Captain, again here. Aye, Captain, to serve is to be numbed by the corporate tedium. I know playing second fiddle is tough, particularly second fiddle to a homunculus, but you've been typecast, my friend, so let's have that on screen, Ensign. Cut to exterior Dagobah. Wicket W. Warwick is swinging from a tree on a rope with Yoda in a backpack on his back, speaking into his streaming mobile phone Yoda is holding for him with a selfie stick. Today for you, I have a nonsense character name, and it is Gozer the Gozerian. Thank you, Wicket W. Warwick. And we're linking to Mike Myers now for an analysis of Wicket's wise words. Cut to exterior restaurant in LA. Myers is eating salad and talking into the microphone. Hello, Troy. I think the most important question for the universe to ask about the notion of Gozer, the Gozerian, is who are the other Gozerians? Thank you for the essence of what is nonsensical about the character name cited by Wicket W. Warwick. Back to you in the studio, Commander Riker. Interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. While our show Man or Minger is temporarily suspended pending an investigation into whether or not it undermines the pinkwashing of imperial ethnocratic activity by compliant pseudo-liberals pretending to be fighting for equal rights, we have an even more fun and vulgar game show for you featuring Kyle MacLachlan. The former Twin Peaks star has been sent to dozens of star systems to visit a wide array of humanoid life forms chosen for having come into contact with the screenplay of Star Wars and its successor films. MacLachlan has to say a specific famous line from Star Wars itself as many times as it takes to win his prize, which is a piece of the finest pie in the universe. Will he taste the pie? We shall see. Cut to exterior desert planet with not much going on at a cafeteria where Kyle MacLachlan is eating a clearly mediocre pie. So far, as you'll see from the replay, I have failed to yield the desired response. Cut to replay footage of MacLachlan meeting assorted people in different settings. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. You what? Are you ill? Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. Hail Marcus Garvey, you shall surely live long. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. I can imagine quite a bit. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. Smile, you son of a bitch. Exterior desert planet. Cut to exterior desert planet. Not much going on it. Not much going on it. On with Kyle MacLachlan as a cafeteria, eating his mediocre pie. Hopefully, we'll have more success in the next star system. Cut to interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. And now, without further ado, the intergalactic Jem'Hadar Skal mission and their new hit song Haberdashery on Leasty. This song is dedicated to the rebellious and free spirit of Burt Reynolds and many of the fictional comedy characters he has played. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Band starts playing Haberdashery on Leasty. We bring buttons and threads to the people of Leasty and good reggae music to chill their minds. Buttons and threads and good reggae music to chill their minds. We bring haberdashery to Leasty and good reggae music to chill their minds. Thank you, Wayun and comrades, for that beautiful sentiment. And now, Troy gets down deep into the underbelly of a band of goons who have not yet reformed themselves and offered themselves up as an intergalactic reggae and or ska band. Yes, I'm talking about our favourite Resistance's Futile Brigade, your most loathed invasion force and mine, the Borg themselves. Cut to interior Starship Preppy. Captain Bueller is taking me up close to a Borg cube, which is far enough away from the rest of the Borg to enable us to do a swift hit-and-run interview with a few disgruntled Borg we have managed to get details of, thanks to some insider Ferengi whose minds were so devoted to money that even Borg implants couldn't override their deeper yearning for profit, and thus they were open to the huge bribes we offered. Interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. We have a number of starships ready to race in and help the Preppy pull you out of there if anything at all should go wrong. Tell us more about these Ferengi and the disgruntled Borgs, if you know anything yet. Cut to interior Starship Preppy Troy. The Ferengi who has given us the info wants to remain anonymous, of course, but he has a warehouse full of very popular discount crisps, which I've agreed to help him offload through a viewer phone-in. Cut to interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. Nobody mentioned a call-in for discount crisps. That's a step too far. We must keep commercialization out of this documentation. Oh, come on, Worf. It's just a few crisps, and this may be the scoop which collapses the Borg confidence in their leadership. Maybe the time is near when we can break them out of their idiotic, monotonous, and violent lives and enable them to return to the process of evolving by selling highly harmful cheap foods to gullible, addicted people on behalf of mercantile money worshippers of the most fanatical variety. Interior Starship Preppy. I'm getting ready to beam over to a small moon where a party of Borg is doing some work. Among them are a group of very disgruntled Borg who are quite happy to tell the Federation about their grievances, so do get selling those crisps, or the Ferengi may turn nasty. Interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. Well, if they're going to get nasty, that's different. That's self-defense. Exterior small moon. Troy continues her narration. I'm on a small moon where I was told that I'd meet the unhappy Borgs. 2 Borgs approach her and lay their weapons down and sit on a rock. One of them takes out a thermos and the other unwraps some foil to reveal some sandwiches, which he shares with his fellow Borg. They sip cuppas and munch their sandwiches. Troy, greetings 3 of 5 and 4 of 5. I'm Troy. I was told by our common Ferengi acquaintance that you have some grievances you'd like the people of the Federation to know about. That's right, lass. By gum and no mistake. I'm not going to do the accent except that. Okay. Are you originally from Yorkshire? No, lass, we were created far, far away from Earth by descendants of the human Mel Brooks as part of a living comedy experiment. We were made in a lab designed to be the most stereotypically Yorkshirean humans possible. Isn't that right, Alfie? Careful, Chester. I am 4 of 5. You must try to keep up the appearances. We could get in a lot of trouble if they bust us before the Federation lass manages to get us asylum. Nobody told me anything about asylum. I mean, I'm happy to help, but this is news to me. I told you that Ferengi was playing us, Alfie. What are you saying, Chester? Do you think this is a trap? Seriously, guys, you're scaring me. Am I in danger? We are Borg. Of course you're in danger, you numpty. Although not from us. The 2 Borg munch their sandwiches and sip their tea as they ponder their situation. Suddenly, 1 of 5 appears. What's going on here? Who are you? Troy, in a Cockney London accent. I'm the local plumber. Your lads have outsourced the toilet cleaning to me. Said it was beneath their masterful Borg, the masterful Borg race. Because obviously, being an English actress, she could easily do your Private Walker. But that's a bit more North London, I think. Anyway, what I just did there wasn't ideal. Not my favourite. 1 of 5. Quite so. Better to get some oig. Why has he got a posh accent now? To do the dirty work. Carry on. You have to say carry on. Something like that. If you want to be a posh English speaker. Carry on. See, it's very easy, people. Anyway, mock them. That should be the name of a film, all right. One of 5 departs to strut around and articulate the futility of resisting him. Phew, that was close. Oh, they're not from Yorkshire anymore. I thought we were all goners then. Look, forget your grievances. Why don't we just get off this planet right now, ASAP? Captain Preppy, three and a cameraman to beam up. Troy, the cameraman, and the 2 Yorkshirean Borg beam into a beaming room. Cool. I never saw a real Federation beaming in room before. Neat room. Imagine a whole room for beaming. We're not all half machine and capable of randomly beaming all over the place. Guys, we may have trouble. It's possible that the Borg cube has noticed that 2 of its Borgs have beamed onto our ship. As you know, Borg cubes are inescapable vicious things and will soon assimilate us all. First, they dressed me up in these weird pajama costumes. Now they're going to put me in some sort of foil suit and give me a monocle. Even appearing on the has-been season of Frasier would have been less tacky. Quiet down. I'll scare those Borg off with my crazy red thong, guy. David Hyde Pierce shudders. Oh, God. Anyway, that may work. Borg start beaming onto the starship Preppy, but Cameo's thong successfully kills them on the spot. Extraordinarily, the Borg are not able to create new armory to protect themselves against Cameo's mad thong, so all the new Borg arriving are killed off too. Finally, the Borg cube gives up and flees from Cameo's red thong. It seems that appalling taste has saved us from the Borg. Back to you in the studio, Commander Riker, as we beat a hasty retreat back to the Alpha Quadrant. Interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. And it seems that Kyle MacLachlan will be enjoying a piece of the finest pie in the universe because finally his Obi-Wan Kenobi line has yielded a correct response. Let's go to the replay of the winning response. Cut to replay footage of MacLachlan meeting contestant. MacLachlan. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. Person instantly creates a device which causes all Star Wars related consumables, all media formats of all related films and other works, all merchandise and all related material to instantly stop existing. Cut to Interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. We have a winner, and so Kyle MacLachlan gets a slice of the finest pie. Cut to Interior Hilton Hotel on the best planet in space with poshest houses. Kyle MacLachlan is tucking into pie, which clearly looks like the tastiest pie in space. This is good pie. Interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant, and now Whoopi Goldberg will interview David Lynch's spirit about all the important things in life and death. Cut to exterior space-time continuum generally. David, what is a film? A film is a puzzle in picture form. David, is it fair that McLaughlin is eating that fine pie and we have to be mostly disembodied? It doesn't matter, the pie is ephemeral. What we're discussing here is greater than not just all pies, but the concept of pies itself. Greater than the concept of pies. That's right. That's mighty great. You said it. We've discussed food and films. What about intergalactic ethics? Borg, for or against? Against, definitely against. Me too. What about Jem'Hadar? As an invasion force or musicians? As musicians who were once an invasion force, maybe. What about as an invasion force destined to disarm that became musicians? I'm confused now. Forget the question. What question? Carl McLaughlin appears with several plates of pie, which he hands round. Have some pie. It's the best. Damn good pie. You said it. That's my line. The screenwriter is crazier than you and me combined, David. You said it. Cut to interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. And finally, David Hasselhoff is going to do an impression he hopes is arcane enough to get past our studio audience's internal compendium of memorized trivia accumulated for social reasons which are often connected directly or indirectly with mating rituals. You can't handle the truth. Sorry, I accidentally did an American accent, but everyone involved is. I will now invite audience members to guess who said that line. I see Bob Mortimer has his hand up already. Bob, what's your guess? Is it Will Smith? That is not the correct answer. The audience may take further guesses. Is it Columbo? It is not Columbo, although I guess it is a Columbo-like line for sure. At half points, if half points were available in this game, you, Kenneth Williams, would get one, but sadly they're not. The audience only has one more chance, otherwise the ex-Knight Rider and Baywatch star wins. What does he win? Nothing, it's just for fun. It is a laugh, I must concede. Are you conceding the game? No, just that it's a laugh. You humans are constantly confusing things. Never mind. Is there a third guess? Alf himself. Baywatch guy loses again. The answer is Nicholson in a film which tells a story about Guantanamo Bay, not the story of imperial abuses by a nation of eugenics freaks, but some sort of Dynasty Dallas thing where one of the proud brave Nazis is killed by another of the brave proud Nazis, and Nazism's essential guilt doesn't even come into it. Again, Hasselhoff is beaten. 2 for 2. Another try by the actor turned pop singer in the next episode. We'll also catch up with Troy and find out more about the grievances of Chester and Alfie, the Yorkshirean Borgs. We'll see if Wicket W. Warwick has some more nonsense to spotlight. We'll have at least one of our game shows back on, and the quest for good food, nutty music, and strange but homely trivia will continue. But that's all to come in the next episode. In the meantime, good night to our audiences, and to the people who aren't our audiences also. End episode, theme music, Dust and Bones, Guns and Roses. Okay. I'll be back. You can start reading by yourself. I'm just going to... I'll be back. Hold on. Give me a moment, people. Okay. Right. Kapla Wolf, Kapla Riker. Ladies and gentlemen, on today's show we have Admiral Picard and Captain Data traveling to the past to meet the inventor of the very first bag ever in all of existence. Troy will be investigating the Borg descent situation with first-hand accounts from our new Borg dissenter friends about the true state of Borg morale. Janeway, the half-Klingon woman, and the space hoe, I have to correct that, will be joining us in the studio to explain scientifically why Voyager was almost as bad as the concept of Mrs. Columbo. Of course, Mrs. Columbo itself was so bad nobody's seen it, so all we know is how bad the concept is. Nobody we have managed to contact has any idea of how bad it actually was, but it is generally understood that it's so bad that the people who made it went out of their way to make sure as few people as possible ever found out it existed, like the Star Wars television episodes. David Hasselhoff will be impersonating a banal celebrity tyrant as usual and seeing if an audience member can identify the impersonated malefactor. And we'll be taking another look in Wicket W. Warwick's wardrobe of ridiculous articulations. But first, bags. Admiral Picard, are you and Captain Data ready to initiate the space-time transporter beam? We're ready to go and connected to your big screen and comms system with a cross-space-time doohickey I put together myself in my little workshop at the back of the vineyard. I have a samurai arena at the back of mine. You have a vineyard. I have several. And a set of prune orchards. I have a 7-dimensional pool table, but perhaps we should cut the cool possession comparison stories and get on with the show. Good thinking, Commander Riker. Commander Worf, beam the away team down. Worf beams them down. Exterior Earth, hundreds of thousands of years ago, Picard and Data, and Picard's executive officer in charge of radishes stealthily move about looking for the life form they are tracking, a nameless human without the capacity for language or complex thought. Worf, number 1, we're on the planet now. I can see caves up ahead. We have established that the first ever bag was created by a Paleolithic individual, even more Paleolithic than the notorious human era of so-called supermarkets charging customers for bags in order to cut down 1% of the damage to the ecosystem compared to the 99% of the damage caused by the supermarkets and their bedfellows. The humans certainly took the slow road to enlightenment, Admiral. Admiral, I think I have the bag inventor on my handheld scanner thing. Excellent, lead the way. They weave through the caves until they get close. They now speak in a whisper. Okay, when we go through to the next cave, we're going to discover who it is who invented this fabled bag, the literal mother of all bags, whence all baggery and bagification came. What about Bilbo Baggins? No, that's just a similar sound. Good idea, though. Well done. I'm going to promote you to executive officer in charge of radishes and good ideas as soon as we get back to my digs in Cali. Okay, boys, let's go. Interior next cave. Picard, Data, and executive officer in charge of radishes enter. A woman who looks like Kathy Burke has a big bag in her hand made from the skin of some sort of fox or oversized squirrel. It contains several radishes. She sees them and is alarmed and clearly thinks they are after her radishes. She starts hitting them all on the head with her bag. Arg! Ouch! Help, help! She's hitting me with her bag. Beam us up, Worf. Worf beams them up. I managed to nick one of the radishes, Admiral. Nice work. Let's make a soup with it. What a cow that woman was. Paranoid schizo. She was the first ever shopper, Admiral. It's understandable that she thought we were after her produce. True enough, Captain. Back to you in the studio, Commanders Riker and Worf. Interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. And now, we have some special guests in the studio. 3 of the worst actresses you've ever seen. Janeway, half Klingon woman, and Space Ho. What do you say to people who think you should never have chosen acting as a career? I'm just a helpless Space Ho. You can't blame me for anything. But next to the avuncular Medi hologram, surely I'm practically as charismatic as Sidney James. Yeah, that's what they hired him for, you Burke. Don't call me a Burke. That's literally what you are, Space Ho. Ladies, let's remember that the enemy isn't each other, it's men. Well, only up to a point. By men, I assume you mean males. Captain Janeway, in spite of your fiercely militant female sexism, you don't appear to have any unity among your female characters. Well, they're in the wrong environment, trapped in the middle of nowhere with no way out. They are much more obedient and subservient. Surely the whole point of feminism is to stop women from being submissive and subservient. Only to men, not to other women. And of course, space alien women are lower in caste to human ones like me, particularly since I'm Mrs. Columbo. Commander Riker, let me beat her to death with my fist. This woman is beyond the pale. Ordinarily, I'd agree, Worf, but this is a comedy. To protect ourselves against copyright claims, we have to stay within the comedy genre. What if I beat her to death comically? By the end, it would be classed as drama and we'd get sued. Sorry, Mogik One. I really wish I could give you the all clear. Perhaps we should just move on to the next segment. Okay then. We'll go live to Troy, who is interviewing our Borg dissenters in an extremely secret location, so it's not even in the screenplay directions. Cut to interior extremely secret location. Troy is interviewing former Yorkshire Borgs, Alfie and Chester. So, Alfie, Chester, tell us a bit about why you decided you didn't much like being Borg anymore. Well, it's like this, you see. We, the Borg, plundered so many people and places, we subjugated race after race, but the top brass kept all the perks and the good stuff, and we didn't get our fair slice of pie. And then there's the migrants. They literally let them live for free in hotels. It's a disgrace. They literally let migrant Muslims get away with murder and rape and then police us just because we want a fair slice of pie. It's a two-tier system. They put Muslims and migrants above the Borg. Too right. Woke snowflake lefties. That's what the Borg have become. They keep us on a low wage and then give freebies and rape passes to Muslims. That's why we contacted you, to get out of it. Guys, as an empath, I'm feeling a lot of hate in you. I'm going to recommend that you get some de-indoctrination down on Hukar 32. It's a holy Muslim planet famed for its Yorkshire heritage. Maybe it'll give you a new perspective. You what? Muslims have stolen Yorkshire's heritage? That's not acceptable. Deep-fried Mars bars are not for any old Tawfiq, Dilshad and Hamza. This could well be an opportunity. Let's transport back to the Borg cube and just go and take that planet. Sounds awful. The Borgs transport themselves back to their cube. Troy. Oh dear, we'd better warn the people of Hukar 32. Back to you in the studio. Cut to interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. Looks like our ill-advised investigative report has triggered a mass evacuation of the planet Hukar 32. The old Muslims versus Borg paradigm goes all the way back to the Borg's inspiration, the European Crusaders of Earth. And while millions of Muslims flee their homes to make way for a bunch of armed yahoos with names like Alfie and Chester, we're going to do our David Hasselhoff segment. Take it away, Davy boy. My mama always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And now the studio audience will try to guess who said it. Is it Al Pacino at the end of Scarface? Close but wrong. Next answer, please. This is a trick question, isn't it? It was Mike Myers in Wayne's World. I'm sure of it. Wrong again. And now for the third and final answer. Noam Chomsky, your hand is up. Go ahead and see if you can get it right. It was Tom Hanks helping to push the subtext underlying most Western human art that the average magic-skinned Westerner is more intelligent than anyone else in the universe, and that even a retard like Forrest Gump still trumps all other life forms apart from other allegedly magic-skinned people. Is the correct answer and a lovely turn of phrase. Tell me, Mr. Chomsky, would you execute the two Yorkshire Borgs and Janeway herself for being intolerably goonish? No, but I'm Noam Chomsky. I prefer to take a more enlightened approach. As a Klingon warrior, I think it's only fair for you to have those thoughts, and I, for one, would not have objected if you had followed them through. Thank you, Mr. Chomsky. And now, as advertised in Episode 1, a bona fide all-you-can-eat restaurant which prisoners are not allowed to leave until they have literally eaten every possible food they could ever eat, a feat few ever manage once inside. On the scene is the High Commander. Cut to interior all-you-could-eat ironic punishment facility. The High Commander is roughly pushed through a door into what looks like a high-class restaurant and is led to a table by the short waitress from LOLO who played the Flying Nun. No, not Sally Field, the Flying Nun in LOLO. The High Commander looks at the menu and then speaks. I'll have that, and that. And also that, and that. They bring the food. He eats it all. He demands another menu. I'll have that, and that. And also that, and that. They bring the food. He eats it all. He demands another menu. I'll have that, and that. And also that, and that. The cycle repeats itself 900 times. And then finally the restaurant owner comes out in distress. Please, Monsieur High Commander, you have eaten all we have for you to eat. You have beaten us. Please, you're free to go. The High Commander demands another menu. I'll have that. I'll have that, and that. And also that, and that. Finally, they close the restaurant down and destroy all trace of it. Not a single atom remains. The High Commander goes home and has a midnight snack. Cut to interior, Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. And now for today's final segment, Wicket W. Warwick will brighten our lives with some more hyper-nuanced mockery. Take it away, Wicket. Exterior Conservative Party, Labour Party, Lib Dem Party, Reform UK Party, Republican Party, Democrat Party, cross-party conference. Wicket W. Warwick is on stage addressing millions of eugenics freaks, worried that they may realise he's a terrorist in their eyes. He goes for the Phil Silvers option. Will someone get this big walking carpet out of my way? Massive applause and cheers, and eventually some Union Jack wearing louts put Wicket on their shoulders and do a victory lap of Alderaan. Cut to interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. And that's all for today's show. We'll be back in the next episode with more homely yet unique antics. And we'll be repeating many of the jokes as usual, but of course using only new and freshly hilarious variants. And there'll be a constant flow of references to the Imperial culture this screenplay is ripping it out of. Good night, everyone, and everyone else too. Theme music, Fernando by ABBA, and let's just get on to the last one. Okay. Episode 4. Kapla Worf, Kapla Riker. Ladies and gentlemen, on today's show we have Graham Norton, who's back with the new hit show called Name That Chutney. Hasselhoff and Wicket W. Warwick will bring us their regular features of acrid, visceral dissent from the so-called norm. Troy will follow up on the carnage caused by her ill-conceived interview of two formerly dissenting and now fully re-assimilated Borgs with a passionate sense of belonging to both the Borg Collective and Yorkshire. And Admiral Picard has agreed to do a short poetry reading for us. But first, Wei Yun and his former colleagues and former slaves will sing Wannabe Start in Something by Michael Jackson. This one's dedicated to all satirical writers and producers of highly witty humour, which has a very, very limited reach due to the extremely totalitarian nature of those they critique. Wei Yun and his band do their Jackson cover. Thank you guys, that was truly fabulous. And now, Name That Chutney. Interior Name That Chutney set. Graham Norton is dressed as Superman. Hello everybody and welcome to the latest game show craze, where we show a person footage of some chutney and we tell them what's supposedly in it, and they have to guess whether it's completely fictional AI chutney or a real chutney. Today's contestant is film character Hannibal Lecter, whose very identity seems to be an attempt to run together the history of one of Africa's bravest warriors and a word connotative of erudition with weird psychotic cannibalism and evil. Well, I suppose a gay-washed totalitarian Nazi state is slightly better than one which is just in-your-face hateful. Hannibal Lecter, here is your first picture. On the screen, a chutney is shown. This chutney is called ale and cheddar chutney, Hannibal. What do you say to that? Balls. You think it's AI? No, I have eaten that chutney. It's made from balls of cheddar melted at the perfect temperature in an extremely tasteful way, which is described as a category of nobility of its own in certain extended editions of Debrett's. You are correct. Ale and cheddar chutney is enjoyed by the Duke of San Francisco and the Bishop of Narnia on all their picnics, other than when they go on picnics with or near Yogi Bear and the latter's friends, as the bear tends to steal all their food. I once ate the Duke of San Francisco, but not the present one, obviously. Obviously, here is your next chutney. On the screen, a chutney is shown. Graham Norton. This one is a caffeine and nicotine chutney. That one really is balls. Goat balls to that. Total balls, not real. Is the wrong answer. Caffeine and nicotine chutney exists and is a staple food among working class Britons who seek to push for a more American-run hard labourer state where children have less and less education and more training in doing hard labour for profiteers. It is eaten on its own or sometimes with pie-flavoured beer. But don't worry, even... Oh, God, you have to hate people a lot to mock them like that. Pie-flavoured beer, sorry. But don't worry, even as a loser, you get a consolation prize, which is tailored especially to your taste. Yes, Hannibal, we have arranged for you to have dinner with Carol Vorderman. I'd love to, but I'm a vegan these days. I expect you'd taste fairly gamey. If Richard Whiteley were alive, perhaps, he would no doubt have pull out some good puns to accompany the feast, and maybe a sophisticated-sounding wine, so that it can sound erudite in the screenplay. She'd like that, being a gobshite. Thanks all the same. Oh, to be young again. Hannibal leaves. Cut to interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. And now, Wicket W. Warwick delivers a lecture live to the Oxford Union entitled George Lucas and the Concept of Imagination. Interior Oxford Union, Wicket W. Warwick is speaking to a big audience of preppy people aiming to have very well paid office jobs doing work they'll never really be able to do, to look back on and remember due to its banality and general pointlessness, revealing how hollow their entire life is, even before they've got out of university. My English teacher would not approve of the use of the word "got" there, even though before they have graduated from university, that should be changed. Okay. Today's lecture should really be entitled, what sort of set of lines are more money than you could possibly imagine, and I can imagine quite a bit. Any thoughts? Is it a feminist critique of the notion of mansplaining in a technical, jargonistic, and yet conceptual context? No, that's not even a real thing. Probably not even a real sentence. In fact, the first thought should be, what the Rodney Trotter? What real human would say, more money than you can imagine? Is there a human who doesn't readily imagine infinite money, or so much money they'd never run out? And since there obviously isn't, then what sort of answer is, I can imagine quite a bit, even more artificial than the first line? The real response would be, in what reality can you only imagine some non-infinite amount of money? Who wrote your lines? But that does not happen. Why not? Is it a feminist critique of the notion of mansplaining in a technical, jargonistic, and yet conceptual context? That doesn't become a real thing just because you said it twice. Cut to interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. And now, David Hasselhoff will once again try to get past our studio audience. Your propaganda quote for today, please, David. E.T., phone home. Is it Edward Fox in The Day of the Jackal? Not even close. Does anyone else think they know the answer? Is it Robert De Niro in Heat? No. The Bangles. You appear to think you know the answer. Tell us who Hasselhoff is quoting. Perhaps that should be whom. Tell us whom Hasselhoff is quoting. That's almost alliterative. Whom Hasselhoff. Anyway, who was that? I was channeling one of them actors. And also Orson Welles, I think. Am I thinking of Orson Welles? No. No, not at all. Maybe, yeah. Anyway, in fact, it is a famous line from one of Spielberg's early propaganda works, using emotive music and children to misportray the United States as a place where an unarmed space alien would stay alive for more than a few hours before some hick, with or without a uniform, turned him into a lifeless specimen for display or some sort of primitive study. Shouldn't that primitive be with an anyway? Is the correct answer. Beaten again, David. No hard feelings. No problem. Losing is more fun than winning. And now we're going to visit with Troy aboard the Starship Preppy, which has been on a rescue mission helping Muslims fleeing the Borg on Hukar 32. Interior Starship Preppy. The usual suspects are in their places. Hyde Pierce, Cameo, Bueller. First, Bueller. We managed to get all of the planet's inhabitants away safely as we had a slight head start on the Borg. Plus, Cameo's red thong is the ultimate anti-Borg weapon. We tried to have it distributed to other starships, but most people said they literally rather die or be enslaved by the Borg than wear such a thing. Fortunately, there is Cameo. What if we make Cameo an OnlyFans page and use it as a weapon? We could infect the Borg's central command processor with images of Cameo and his absurd groin wear. In a matter of hours, all Borg everywhere would be wiped out. Once again, you want to embrace Dr. Crusher. Once again, you want to embrace the ways of genocide. How can people complain about Epstein when, at the drop of a hat, they're willing to use a wide variety of sick, criminal, psychotic methods to defend themselves? Surely that's the prototype for Epstein. Are you suggesting that there is more evil in Cameo's thong than in the Borg collective itself? Surely that's obvious. This is Star Trek. You get some pretty outlandish costumes on this show. Exactly my point. Cameo is a real guy singing pop songs on Earth in the 80s, and yet he wears a thong which would fit in with outlandish costumes worn by space aliens. The idea that the thong itself could ward off Borg is even conceivable to a screen audience. That's how absurd his thong is. Okay, fair point. We'll let the Borg go. We're actually worse than they are. Thank you. It's stunning that these people can be in the same galaxy as that thong and not experience intense feelings of horror and sartorial incomprehension. Is sartorial incomprehension a real phrase? Look at that thong and tell me you understand why anyone would wear it. I see. I am experiencing sartorial incomprehension when I look at Cameo. I have to wonder if the writers of the British Carry On films would disagree with us on this matter and would showcase Cameo as a sort of running slapstick gag for harnessing the popularity of the lowest common denominator audience-wise. Screw them, they're not here. Don't be so sure. Take a look around. Read some of the lines. Frankly, I'm worried. I will admit that if I reject genocide of the Borg, I also reject hostile action towards Cameo's Thong. Agreed. We're all agreed then. There will be no Borg genocide today. Back to you in the studio, Commander Riker, Commander Worf. Cut to interior Worf and Riker studio in the Epsilon Quadrant. So once again, the Borg have escaped annihilation because Crusher proved Troy and the others wrong. And finally, Admiral Picard is going to recite an extract from some anti-war poetry by Wilfred Owen for us. Please recite the poem, Admiral. And if in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in and watch the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face like a devil sick of sin, if you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues. My friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory that old lie, dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. And that's all we have time for. But we'll be back in another episode with a crazy new Graham Norton game show and all the usual mayhem and gimmicks. Good night, everyone, and everyone else too. End episode, theme music, My Blue Heaven, Gene Austin.